If not, we will go ahead and get this show on the road. I don't think it will take us too long today. And like I said, this is pretty much a review. I don't think it's much new information, I feel like, but at the same time, I got to remember everybody is not me. So it's just a little struggle sometimes, like repeating, saying stuff over and over again and thinking that everybody already knows. But I know that we went over this class similar before. I think we had like a cookout or something outside, so it's not something that was on the channel. And I just wanted to fill in for ABA YAH while I do have some new things that I feel like the Most High wants me to talk about. I just pretty much just need time to really gather everything. So we're going to continue with the Bible boot camp, which is great. I feel like for new people, and it's just great to put these things up on the YouTube so that way it's easy to access. So I think that it's worked out pretty great. This is Bible boot camp part 3, and today we're gonna go over, call it a weapons check, but it's just little things that people can use, especially us, if you want to witness to somebody or in a debate with someone, not like a debate like you're arguing, but we're defending the faith type situation. Um, these are some bullet points or scriptures or um, weapons, so to speak, that you can go to assist you in proving what you believe. So we spoke on this plenty and plenty of times. This word here is tama, tama, and it's the word for perfect. And we are called in the scriptures to be perfect, and we know that our secular mind or our European centric mind, knowing this English, it's like being perfect is like to be without mistakes, or like you never you you never had a sin in your life. That's what they expect perfect to mean, like. And the word in Hebrew really has a much more deeper meaning than that. But it's much more simple than that as well at the same time. So there's a few scriptures that go over first, and then we'll get into the word more. Um, so the first thing is Genesis chapter 17 and 1. Genesis chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, and when Abram was 90 years old and 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty Elohim, walk before me, halakha, and be thou tamah, be thou perfect. And verse 2, he says, and I will make my covenant between me and you and multiply you exceedingly. So he asked Abraham to be perfect, and the Most High is going to have this covenant between Abraham and his children. The Most High also repeated this again in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 13. And it just simply says, thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh the Elohim. Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh the Elohim. And we see this verse in the New Testament, and it's a great proof to what we've always been saying, is that Yahushua self-admittedly did not come to speak a new word. He did not come to speak his own words, but he came to speak the words of his Father. And now when we see in the New Testament that when he says, be ye perfect, even as your Abba or your Father, which is in the Shemayim, is perfect, we see 2 times where it's already referenced in the so-called Old Testament that the Most High is required and asked us to be quote unquote perfect. So when you see that in the New Testament, for one, why would Christ ask you to be perfect if it was something that was unattainable? Why would the Messiah, without even referencing the Old Testament, why would the Messiah ask you to be perfect if it was something that was unattainable? Secondly, that's for the people who reference the Messiah even above the Father himself. Secondly, why would Yahweh from the beginning ask you and ask Abraham to be perfect if it was something that was unattainable? A righteous father wouldn't do such a thing. So the last part to this is Psalms 19, 7 through 9. Psalm 19. I think I wrote the right thing. No. Let me see. This might be the wrong one. Let me see. One second. Oh, I'm in Proverbs. My bad. My bad. So it is Psalms 19, verse 7. It says, the law, the Torah of Yahweh is perfect, converting the napash or the soul. The testimony of Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether. So the Most High says that the law is perfect and it converts the soul. The law is perfect and it converts the soul. The law is Tamah. The law is Tamah. So we're gonna not leave it as like a mystery and explain it clearly by the end. Um, so I had to throw these back in there for the person who hasn't seen it before, trying to do a better job at that. And I just want you all, for the sake of this, to keep these words in your mind, because I said that we was going to end up using these words a lot because the words are just thrown out there in an abstract way, and we don't really understand what these words refer back to. Now, a lot of us, we do now, but our family and friends may not. So just wanted to throw a few words up here that we can keep in our minds. So when you see more information about Tamah, it should just register quickly. So the first word is truth. The first word is truth. What is the truth according to the Bible? What is truth according to the Bible that everyone says that they believe in? It says in Psalms 119 and 142, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Thy righteousness is everlasting, and your law is the truth. That's Psalms 119 and 142. Psalms 119 and 151. You art near, O Yahweh, and your commandments are truth. You are near, O Yahweh, and your commandments, and all your commandments, and all your commandments, and all your commandments are truth. So all praises for that. So truth ties right back to the Most High's commandments. Truth ties right back to the Most High's commandments. The next word is righteous. You'll hear Christians use that word all the time. We hear a lot of common people use that word righteous. But what is to be righteous? What is our righteousness? Deuteronomy 6:25, and it shall be our righteousness, and it shall be our righteousness, if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh, our Elohim, as he hath commanded us. Our righteousness comes if we observe to do the commandments which Yahweh have commanded us to do. Also, you can find in the New Testament from the champion of the New Testament that they champion, Paul. It says in Romans 7:12, so then the law is holy. So Paul is telling us that the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, righteous, and good. So Paul is saying that the commandment is holy, the law is holy, and is righteous, and is good. So that should make one think, how would he ever say that we shouldn't keep the law anymore? If he says that the law is holy, commandment is holy, righteous, and good. So that's truth and that's righteousness. The last one is the word just, to be just, justified. It says in Deuteronomy 32:4, he is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment, and Elohim of truth, and without iniquity, just and right is he. So to be without iniquity is what makes you just and right. To be without iniquity is what makes you just and right. Now keep this highlighted word in your mind. The just man walketh in his integrity, and his children are blessed after him. That's Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 7. The just man walketh, halakha, in his integrity. Integrity. So we got truth, justice, or just, righteous, and just is also equated with integrity. Just is also equated to integrity. So the word tamah, when you go to your lexicon, this is the Blue Letter and the Strong's. It says that the word has been used for without blemish, 44 times. It's been used as perfect 18 times, upright, without spot, whole, uprightly, sincerely, complete, or full. Now, if you scroll on down and see number 5, it says, what is complete or entirely in accord with truth and fact? What is completely or entirely in accord with truth and fact? So that's why I wanted you to remember those words. When we scroll down, it says integrity, truth, without blemish, complete, full, perfect, sincere, undefiled, without spot, or upright, which is Yashar, Yashar Allah. So basically, family, if truth, integrity, righteous, and just, to be without blemish, all refers back to the commandments. And we know that after the Messiah has come, we must accept his sacrifice for the atonement of our sin, so that the Most High sees his blood when he sees us and all the wickedness that we have done in the past. And we are to be entirely in accord with truth, entirely in accord with the commandments, and entirely in accord with the covenant. Be tamah, be tamah. So tamah, if we break it down how we break it down, the meanings of the characters, we can get, a few different meanings and translations. To be perfect, it can mean flow unto the mark. When it says strive for the truth unto death, you slipped and fell off the side of the road. You get back up and you continue to flow unto the mark. Flow unto the mark. You're also marked by the blood. Under the covenant of the Most High, we were sprinkled with the blood, and we are marked by the blood as a sign that we are Yahweh's. So to be Tamah is to be marked by the blood, to be in the covenant, which takes us to our last one, the order of the covenant, because the symbol for the Ma can represent order. The order of the covenant, the order of the covenant. So when it says to be entirely in accord with the order of the covenant, that's what it means when the Most High is telling us to be perfect. In the covenant, the Most High already knew that we would sin. Why is that? Or how do we know that? Because he gave us provisions for the sins that we would commit. If you do this, bring this as a sacrifice. If you do this, such as steal from your brother or your sister, then you shall take sevenfold times what you took from them. He would not have placed provisions if he expected his people as a nation as a whole, the individuals within, to never make a mistake. And another way you can think about that is the commandments and how to act had to be taught from generation to generation to generation. If someone doesn't teach their son and their daughter how to keep the commandments, it is possible that they still learn as we are learning now. But before they could learn, we would commit sins because it could be out of ignorance. Therefore, the Most High put in forgiveness for the sins of ignorance. The Christians and our families and our friends, they say things like, well, if you broke one, you broke them all. Nobody can keep the commandments. You shouldn't even try to keep them because you can't. No human, no man could do it. The Most High already put provisions for someone who committed sins out of ignorance. There were sins that led unto death, which was no repentance for. And there were sins, or there was laws and ordinances and statutes that doesn't necessarily mean you did something wrong. It was just something that the Most High deemed to be unclean. So if a woman gave birth to a child, there were sacrifices that she had to make to get back in the Most High's order that he created in the covenant. So this covenant is not all about, oh, someone did something wrong. That woman ain't do nothing wrong by being married to her husband and having a baby. So why does she have to go sacrifice? Because the Most High set it forth for order. The Most High set forth for order. So that's one of the things that gets me when they come against the Most High's covenant. Like it's all about don't do this and don't do that and don't do this. And, it's not about all murdering and adultery and all of those types of things. He showed us how to be pure, purified, clean, and cleansed, etc. How to treat people with sickness and disease and blood, how to handle that, what to do and not to do. So all praises for that. I saw we had Sister Joyce. If you had, or I think it was Joyce, maybe you wanted to unmute.
Shabbat Shalom. It's me, Sister Joy.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I love the glyphs and seeing this. I'm very visual, so seeing the water and then the ta, being the mark. I just thought of watermark, which are placed on pictures, and I looked it up, and it says a faint design made in some paper during manufacture that is visible when held against the light and typically identifies the maker. So I don't know. I just thought that was pretty cool.
That is more than pretty cool. That is fantastic. That is excellent. That is exceptional. So thank you for that input. Watermark, that goes with the middle one, I would say, to be marked
Hmm.
by blood. But like you said, if we're marked by the blood or like a watermark, when it's held up to the light, you know if it's real or not. You know if it's of a certain collection, I would say. So that is like when you have that mark and when you're Tama, you're held up to the light. The light is the most high. The light is Yahweh Shai. The light is the commandments. Then the most high know that you are his, just like a sheep belonging to a shepherd. So all praise for that. Zamaria.
Khan, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Um, Man, yeah, first of all, yeah, that I'm still kind of tripping over what Sister Georgia said. That was amazing. That was very remarkable. Um, but just to follow kind of to try to follow up on that, I just love rehearsing this law, man, with with my people, man, because it's just a constant reminder that one, the Most High is real, His word is real, and two, we are His people. And these glyphs, man, just learning these glyphs, it makes reading the word so much more real and understandable because I'm looking at your theme, the visual you put together, and I'm looking at, and I don't know if you already said this. I'm up in Detroit. I kind of hopped on a little late, but I'm looking at the vehicle and the glyphs, the ma, I think that is, and then the tie. So and you said mark, and so I'm thinking like, yo, you just made it plain. That's why I believe Paul said we press towards the mark.
Got it.
So I'm just like, bro, so when we hearing all that stuff, he's just saying, to my, when I'm hearing you saying that, it's not about necessarily what we call being perfect. He's just saying, keep the commandments, obey the Most High. So this is amazing, man. I thank y'all for this word, man. I appreciate you.
Jamar, y'all hit the nail on the head. Press towards the mark. Basically, when they're saying, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect, he's telling you to stay in the order of the covenant, or he's saying, keep the commandments. Very simple. Very, very simple. And I'm glad that someone else said it so that it means that it's being resonated and rehearsed throughout. So all praises for that. Did anyone have any final comments before we move to the next slide? All right, family, let's run off this weapons check or checklist. And this subject right here is no human is capable of keeping the law, question mark. That's what they tell us, right? No human is capable of keeping the law. So let's see if we can see some examples of people keeping the Most High's ways, to keeping the Most High's word. The first one is coming out of Genesis chapter 6 and verse 9. Genesis chapter 6 and verse 9. Verse 8 says, but Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and Tamah in his generations, and Noah walked with Yah. halakha. So we just saw what the word just is equated to. And obviously we saw what the word tama is equated to. And also sometimes people equate it to perfect in his generations, meaning his blood and all of those things wasn't corrupted. Um, but he found grace because Noah was one to walk in the Most High's commandments, walk in the Most High's ways. Next, we got Genesis chapter 7 and verse 1, another witness. And Yahweh said unto Noah, come you and your whole house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. So if that previous verse didn't prove what I was saying, that the Most High was not specifically saying about his blood or his genealogy or anything of that nature, this should be more clear that the Most High has seen Noah be righteous in his generation. All right. Next, we got a favorite, a classic, a staple, which is Genesis 26 and 5. This is about Father Abraham. And just to get a little bit of context, it says that Yahweh in verse 2 appeared unto him and said, go not down into Matazaraim, into the house of bondage, into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee and will bless thee. For unto thee and to thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham your father, and I will make your seed multiply, talking to Isaac, as the stars of the Shemayim, and will give unto your seed all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Why? Because that Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So we see here the Most High has said that Noah kept his ways, Abraham kept his ways, and was Tamah with him. Was Tamah with him. Let's get another one. Job 1 and 1. Job 1 and 1. Job 1 and 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, or Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was Tamah wa Yashar. Tamah wa Yashar. He was perfect and upright, and one that feared Yahweh and eschewed evil, stayed away from evil. Tamah wa Yashar. So the Most High is now we have three examples. The mouth of 2 to 3 witnesses, let a matter be established. We got 3 different men who are considered to be Tamah with the Most High. Tamah with the Most High. We have 2 more, and then if anyone wants to comment, we can do that. So we got Mark chapter 6. Mark chapter 6 and verse 20. Mark chapter 6 and verse 20. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just man and Kadash, holy, and observed him. And when he heard him, he did many things and heard him gladly. So John was considered a just man. He had integrity. He walked in truth, which is related to Tamah, So we have a New Testament example, and we have one more. So we got 2 New Testament witnesses to show that there's no excuses and that it is possible for someone to be considered Tamah in the eyes of Yahweh. Luke 1 and chapter 6. So someone comes to you and says, nobody can keep the law. No man has kept the law except Jesus Christ. You say, well, let's read Luke 1 and chapter 6. Verse 5 says, Luke 1 and verse 6. Verse 5 says, there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was the daughters of Aharon, and her name was Elizabeth, daughter of Aharon. And they were both righteous before Yahweh, halakha, ba, the commandments, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of Yahweh, blameless. Blameless means without spot, which means perfect, which means tamah. Elizabeth and her husband walked in all of the commandments and ordinances of Yahweh, blameless. So we got Old Testament, Noah, Abraham, Job, and then in the New Testament, we got John and Luke, and obviously we know John, Elizabeth, and her husband, Zacharias, and obviously we know Yahweh Shai. So if Yahweh Shai asks us, "Be ye perfect, as your Father is in heaven," it's because it's something that we're capable of doing. So to say no person or no human is capable of keeping the law is incorrect 10 times out of 10. Did anyone have any questions or comments about that? If not, no problem. Of course, feel free to unmute at any time. This is the last slide. I told you it wasn't going to be long, and I'm keeping up with my word on that. So we got one more checklist, and this is something else that is in our community or that comes up as far as debate wise. And they say that the law of Moses is done away with, and Yahweh Shai is greater than Moses, and this and that, and the third. So for us, we know that Mashah or Moses has no law. Moses or Mashah has no law. Just like we know that Levi or the Levites have no priesthood. They have no priesthood. Moses has no law. The law and the priesthood is Yahweh's. The law and the priesthood is Yahweh's. And he deems who he sees fit to deliver his message. Just like in the book of Revelation, Yahweh Shai don't have no revelation. The revelation says this is the revelation of Yahweh that was given to Yahweh Shai to give to John. So all these things belong to Yahweh, and he is so gracious to give his message to certain people to give to the congregation or the assembly of the Israelites. So we can show that the law is something that is eternal. The law belongs to Yahweh, and the law was established from the foundation and the creation of the earth. The law was before Mount Sinai and Mashah. First one is Genesis chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4, verse 4 through 5. Genesis chapter 4, verse 4 through 5. Genesis chapter 4. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect unto Abel and his offering. So even me reading this again, you see things that you see it, but you didn't really think about it. But I know Nariah for sure 100% can relate to this. And maybe some of you also. But I never liked eating the fat. I never liked eating hold on one second. I was just saying that Nariah can 100% relate to what I'm seeing here when it says Abel He also brought the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof, and Yahweh had respect unto Abel and to his offering. And I was saying, Araya, you definitely would know this for sure. But I know our people, we grow up, especially in the South and the country, and we see the meats and it's got all this fat on it, and some of our people just love it. I never loved it. I hated it. I didn't like it at all. But when growing up, they were like, you better eat that. That's good. Whatever. I'm like, this is horrible. I don't want it. But now I was joking coming into the truth, and I'm like, I got a built-in excuse because the fat belongs to Yahweh. The fat belongs to Yahweh. So that's one of the things that's in the covenant when you talk about sacrifices, because obviously, if you didn't know, they don't just slaughter the animals and just burn each animal to a crisp. Some are whole burnt offerings where the thing is just burnt. But the sacrifices is like, for a word that people can understand, it's almost like having a cookout or cooking on the grill. So just for a visual, they eat the sacrifices. They eat the sacrifices, but the fat belongs to Yahweh. So now it would make sense when it says, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. Cain was very wroth and his countenance fell. And Cain, it says in the beginning, in verse 3, that he brought the fruit of the ground as an offering unto Yahweh. And we know now about the sacrifice of an animal being the covering for sin, the blood. And the fat is also offered unto Yahweh. So it makes sense more for me now why the Most High had the respect unto his offering. But I'm showing this, that part was just like a learning on the way to learning. The key point is that for them to have sacrifices and the Most High to accept Abel's sacrifice, he must have learned or known how to sacrifice from someone. So this is showing that there was a law established before you get to Moses and the Exodus. Hopefully that wasn't too convoluted. I got a little bit excited, but hopefully that made sense. Shamaryah?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to land me back off of what you're talking about too, man. It's crazy that that was your first scripture, because I was just reading that in the Septuagint earlier this week, and I just wanted to point out also, on top of what you're saying, just to prove that there was a law, and that's what the Most High was talking about. In verse 7, he told him why it was a sin, because it says in verse 7 in the Britain Septuagint, it says, "Hast thou not sinned if thou hast brought it rightly, but not rightly divided it?" So, he's basically telling him, like, bro, that's why I was displeased. You ain't even do it the right way. So, I mean, it's just crazy that I had noticed that reading that this earlier this week. So it's crazy that that was your first scripture, and that was a pure indication to me that the law was before Moses, and it's not necessarily his law, but the Most High's law.
All praises for that witness. All praises for that witness. Anyone else? All right, we're jumping over to Genesis chapter 7 and verse 1 and 2. It says, "And Yahweh said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast you shall take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female." So the Most High is saying that there's a difference between clean and unclean. But this is way before Moses, before we got Leviticus chapter 11. Thou shalt not eat of all the fowls in the air, this, and this. Thou shalt not eat, uh, obviously, the swine and things in the waters without fins and scales. So how would he know what's clean and unclean if he didn't have the Most High's commandments, if he didn't have the Most High's ways, if he didn't have the Most High's covenant? And this is how they're being able to be deemed Tamah. Is that a new hand, Zamaria, or is that an old hand?
Oh, that's old.
All right, no problem. So again, that's another example with Noah separating the clean and the unclean animals. Um, Hopping right over to the next chapter, verse 8, chapter 8 and verse 20. It says, and Noah builded an altar unto Yahweh. So first he built an altar, and he took every clean beast and every clean fowl and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So again, he knows about the sacrifice or offerings that are pleasing unto Yahweh. And it says, and Yahweh smelled the sweet savor, and Yahweh said in his heart that he would surely not curse the ground for anymore for man's sake, for the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again smite any more every living thing as he have done. So the Most High and was pleased in the offering that Noah had made. Noah would have to know what was pleasing unto Yahweh to be able to do so, because he couldn't go like us and read Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers to be able to understand those things. The next one is right the next chapter over. Genesis chapter 9, it says, verse 3, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, you shall not eat. So we know that we don't eat the blood of anyone. And obviously we make sure that, you know, the foods or meats that we cook, we make sure that we are not consuming the blood thereof. Some people would try to construe this and say that you're not supposed to eat meat at all. But meat there is an English word, and it's a better way for you to understand is just something as far it would be food or something to consume. Um, but the key takeaway here is that we know that we're not to eat the blood which was given to us in the covenant that we got with Moses. But here we're seeing it way before that time. We're seeing that way before that time. So that's the key point, that is so many examples of the law before you even get to Sinai. Um, so we know that I think it was like a total of 430 years Abraham between Abraham and the children of Israel uh, coming out at Sinai. About 430 years. I think Galatians talks about that. So this time here is way before they were at Sinai. Another witness can be found in Genesis chapter 17. Genesis chapter 17, and we're going to 10 through 14. It says, and Yahweh said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore you and your seed after you in your generations. Obviously, there's already a covenant. This is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after you. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a sign or a token, a watermark of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or that is brought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. He is that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with money, he must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. So the Most High is telling us here about the covenant of circumcision, and we see it again It's just repeated by the time you get to Moses. It's just repeated by the time you get to Moses. So it's no law specific to Mashah. The law is Yahweh's law, Yahweh's order. And if you get Jubilees, it expounds on that, and it says that the Most High chose the Israelites to give his commandments and statutes to, so that we can be in line with him as he is in line between himself and the angels in heaven. He wants us to be on earth, but in line with the angels and himself in the Shemayim. And he saw fit to choose the Israelites for that purpose. The last one is one that we just read that covers someone as an example of keeping the commandments, but also the fact that how could he keep them if we didn't get them until Moses? So Genesis 26:5, it says, because Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, and my statutes and my laws. So the Most High deemed Abraham Tamah. He deemed Abraham one who ruled and walked with Yahweh. And he ruled Abraham. He gave Abraham these commandments, which was way before Mashah. Therefore, there is no such thing as the law of Moses. That is a term that Christians have come up with to apply to him. And then they try to put in a bidding war between Yahushua and Moses, when we know the Most High already told his people that one like unto Moses was going to come from out of the nation, and we were to listen to him, and that was Yahushua. But he didn't come and try to say that this person is going to say anything different than what Mashah had already said. And from Genesis, you can see all of these examples of our forefathers keeping the commandments, knowing about sacrifices, knowing not to eat the blood, knowing how to rightly divide the offerings, knowing what offerings to make, knowing the difference between clean and unclean animals way before Mount Sinai. So with that, family, if there's any questions, comments, or concerns, like I said, this wouldn't be a long class, but it is fitting to go along with this Bible Bootcamp theme and weapons check, because those are questions that you guys now should be able to answer and have a lot of ammo in the chamber, to defend your faith and what you believe. So with that being said, family, it is open to any comments or questions if you want to unmute.
Con, I just wanted to reiterate, as I said earlier, man, just all praises to the Most High, for you being obedient, man, and being a vessel, bringing this forth. This is certainly a confirmation for me. Um, I, by my standards, I don't read as much as I should. But every time when I get back in my grind mode, even though I've read the Bible over, probably I read it twice, from front to back. But every time I get in my study mode, I feel like the Ruach always leads me to go back to the beginning, because I believe, like Mariah says, when you understand the prophets, understand the laws, that's a great foundation to understand, everything else. So this was just a confirmation, man, that because I was kind of like, bro, why I keep going back to the beginning? Like, why do I? But I was just obedient to what my heart was telling me, and I think this was just a confirmation, man. So I appreciate this class, man. This is very edifying and uplifting. I'm strengthened by this, man. So appreciate it. And all praise to the Most High.
All praises to the Most High for his word and his edification. Did anyone else have anything they would like to unmute?
Yeah, I have a question. Um, a couple of days ago, like it was like a normal morning. Like I woke up, I got out of bed, did my thing. I'm sorry, my heart is beating right now, telling you this. But like when I like came back in, like I make my bed and all that. It was like an hour or two while I was doing my other morning stuff, and like when I came back inside my room, when I like lifted up my covers, all I saw was like dry mud. It was like dry mud all over my sheet. It was like mud all like on my cover, like not like all over the cover, but it was like a one small spot near like my neck area. Um, and I thought that was strange because there wasn't any mud on like the floor, the walls. There wasn't any mud trails. There wasn't any mud on like the bottom of my shoes. There wasn't mud on my body. And like this mud it was hard. It wasn't fresh. It was hard. And like I couldn't wrap my head around it. Because I'm pretty sure I already know who it was, but I don't know the message behind that. I was wondering if you guys have any idea.
Well, who do you think it was?
Yahuwah, yeah, Yahuwah. Like, I'm pretty sure it was him, but like I don't know like the reason or because like that's never happened to me before. Like that was strange.
Well, I would say in that aspect, this is the any type of encounter like that. If you feel and only you were there to know and feel that it was from Yahweh or the Most High. Like we're all still learning to deal with that and decipher that and see what's going on. So I wouldn't have a direct answer, but what I will say is usually if it is an encounter or the Most High is trying to get a message across to you, you're gonna see for first of all, make sure you're in the right standing with Yahweh, make sure you repenting, make sure you're um praying and asking for forgiveness for your sins, anything you may have transgressed against him. But he will give you more than one witness, and that eventually is how you'll be able to decipher what the message actually is. And to I would say go on a fast, a cleanse, a fast to open up, separate from the physical and connect to the spiritual more, and pray that the Most High provides you with more clarity. That's the best advice that I could give on a situation like that, and we definitely appreciate you sharing your experience. We definitely don't take it lightly. Did anyone else have advice for him for that?
Joel, I don't have any advice or interpretation, but being that it was old dirt, I mean, I think just naturally something that maybe in the past that you maybe haven't dealt with, or something that needs to be cleansed. If you feel like Yahweh is trying to give you a message, maybe revisit something that's old, maybe that you haven't thought about.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Huh?
Thank you for that wise wisdom, Miss Joy. You had something else up? Okay. Did anyone else have anything else? All right, family. Well, I love you all. I very much appreciate you all. I didn't want to keep everyone long. So at this time, I will definitely ask that you face towards the land, face towards the place that uh, Solomon built the Most High's house. Um, and we just remember that he said that he asked the Most High to hear and answer our prayers when we pray towards that place. in the land of Yerushalayim. Most